Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Art Class with Gerald Savine, lesson number 59. Today we're going to be painting the windmill. So if we can have a quick look at this, we'll be using raw umber to create the colouring for the windmill itself. We'll be using burnt umber for the darker browns, and also we'll be using burnt sienna for the colours of the roofs. The greys that you can see are made up from the Payne's grey, which is an artist's watercolour. So we're going to come over to see the drawing that we've got to work on. And to start off with, I'm going to run colour down one side. I'm using a number 6 paintbrush, by the way. I'm going to try and be as quick as I can with this. Now again, obviously, as I've always keep saying, you've got more time to do this than I have. So you can be a bit more delicate with the painting. So we've done that to start off with. I'm going to wash the brush out, take most of the water off, and then I'm going to start pulling the colour across. Now perhaps it's a little bit thin now, so what I need to do is put a bit more pigment into the mix. So it's a bit rather thin mix of colour, too much water in it. I'm going to work my way across. Again, just pull the colour out and round. As the light hits the side of the building, obviously light coming from the right hand side. I don't know what it is, but it's I'm about to sneeze again. I do apologise. Oh dear. So we'll push on as quickly as we can. Again, see how it gives a sort of shadow effect. And we'll be as quick as we can here, because obviously it'd be nice to be able to get the whole thing done within the period that we've got. Again, up here, coming down here. Again, obviously it's a little bit darker up here, because we've got shadow coming from all the bits and pieces that are dangling down from the top of the windmill. I'm just going to bring down here, just slightly stronger down there, and again pull the colour round. Again, if you look at the original painting, you can see we have a bit more time to have done this. And again, there's shadow here because there's a bit of shadow coming from that building, or the bit of the building there that we're going to head on to. It's darker under here because you've got the walkway that runs around the windmill. So again, we get a little bit more pigment on the end of the brush. You can sort of get the general idea anyway. Again, a bit darker under there. And also got to get some colour into this area here, just to finish off. So that's the basic thing going on here with the actual windmill itself. What I'm going to do now is, to give the chances to dry off a bit, I'm going to start bringing some colour into the areas down here. So I'm going to pick up first of all some burnt umber, which I'm going to paint down here, the side of there, and also imagining, well in fact it is, this is a wooden, the building here is wood. Being careful, now I just realised that I'm going to come up against the windmill along here, so I'm going to have to hold back on that piece. I don't want the colour to run from one to the other. And down here we've got the darker brown again here. This is the bottom of the wall of the building, the other side of the lane. And also we've got some dark brown. So obviously a lot of this building is actually wooden. So we've got just using the dark brown is good for that because it's. But I'm going to leave it now because again here, unfortunately, I'm going to be careful we don't run up against the. A bit more pigment behind there, I think. Got a bit too light. So sometimes it doesn't take too much to. If you've got too much water in and it's thinned out too much in the first place, it soon starts bleeding off. And we don't want it to happen. A little bit of colour underneath here as well. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work with the Payne's Grey. Now, Payne's Grey looks decidedly black when you see it like that. But again, it's one of those colours that if you thin it down, just dip the brush into a different pot of clean water so we don't get the colours mixed up. I'm going to put some colour into that, into the wall here, and leaving the top of the wall, the light's catching it. The time of year is not very good for the. Now I'm not going to do any more of that there for the moment. What I am going to do is I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the Payne's Grey and see if it's going to help. Slightly in there, the brush will be fine. A little bit more pigment on the brush, not too watery, and I'm just going to bring a little bit of dark of the, again underneath the that part of the windmill, and again under here a little bit more colour. Again here we can just pull the colour around very quickly so it just thins it down. Not it too dark under there, but it is darker. We can use the white paint that we'll be working with shortly in places as well. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of grey gently up the side of here. Just do a little bit more emphasis to that. Okay, so I'm afraid so it looks a bit untidy at the moment. Now what I'm going to do is while I'm waiting for this to dry off a little bit, I'm just going to pick up a bit of the burnt umber and just paint it onto the back of the boat here. So we've got these little things happening all at the same time. I'm just watching the time. Again, I'm afraid it's a little quick and slightly untidy. You have to forgive me for this, but just thin the brush down a bit so you can get a line running through there. And also while I'm at it, I'll just bring this up and run the colour through there. So although I put quite a heavy mix of colour there, I'm going to able just to pull it off, just bring it through there. Alright, right, hopefully that's fairly dry now, so I'm going to come back to the windmill. Again using Payne's Grey, we're going to make sure it's quite thin, and I'm going to paint the top. No, that's quite dark there. What we'll be doing is using the white paint to paint the sails. I'm just going to put this colouring in here. Just thin it right down. Just pull the colour. Just pull. It's amazing how you know. It's one of the nice things about watercolour. You can work the colours. If I can get the brush thin enough, just might be able to bring this around here. It's not working very well. Anyway, again here we've got the colour in here, shadow there. We've got shadow under there. Again, I'm using the Payne's Grey, a bit more pigment just to create under this platform that's there. Again, it's more in shadow. Okay, and then we're going to use the same colour just to paint a little bit of the windows in there. like eyes watching you. So, and then the door down here as well. I'm going to use a finer brush now to get some of the detail going, just underneath here. And hopefully what we're able to do, which is later we can put some white paint in just to improve how things look down there. And again, there's windows down here as well. Again, if we come round like this, get the shadow underneath the handrail. And there's nothing wrong with, again, using the gouache white paint or paint over the things that are there. A bit more colour under there, and under here as well. This is coming out a little bit stronger than I would did in the original picture, so you have to be patient with this. Again, I'm just going to pull the colour around a bit here, just thin it down. Again, we're going to be a bit cheeky and use the Payne's grey to give a bit of character to the structure. Watch the perspective on this as well. Right, and there's a bit of a knob on top, but again we can pick that up with the white later on. I'm watching the time, so I think we're going to have a few minutes before we need to stop. Now I'm picking up the burnt sienna, again quite thinly to start off with, which we can then paint on the roofs. Hope that's okay. We've got about another couple of minutes before we need to have a break. So unfortunately for you that are watching this on YouTube, we're only allowed 15 minutes at a time. So again, this will be quite quick. So let's get this bit of colouring into here. Also the roof here. So you know these sort of tiles that get on some buildings. Usually when the old buildings have got the nice terracotta tiles, give that nice colouring. The next session I will just detail a little bit more of this, so it makes a bit more sense. Okay, so I think we better give that a break now. And we'll come back to this again shortly. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now, and look forward to the next session.